I'm just gonna start with, using the square bat system from Bleecker Station, and I'm gonna throw a mug. So this is about 1.5 pounds of clay. Just making it into a round ball first. I'm gonna center it. Centering is always done at a high speed. So a lot of times you have to be really careful when you are when you're opening your form. Often you can make the mass unstable. So you can see I'm actually holding my hands against it here. Sometimes you see potters, they put their hands this way, and the reason why they're putting their hands that way as they open the form is to make sure that it doesn't go off center. This is usually when you go down to a certain point, and then you use your needle tool to figure out how the thickness of the foot is. Typically you say about that thick, and then later you come back and trim it. But I sort of have a feeling, I've developed a feeling for how much or how deep it needs to be before I start pulling it up. And that's just something that happens with time. As you start doing it more and more, you start to develop that sense or the ability to know what things need to be. And since I'm not gauging this, I'm not putting this against a certain size, what I'm doing is I'm just going based on what I feel and know. And you get better at this, the more you do it, the more you throw, you get better at it. So now I'm just slowing it down a little as I bring it up. One thing I've noticed about when you do that first pull, you have to really be careful about coming up too quickly, because then the top edge can be uneven. So I kind of defined the thickness of my top edge early on, and that's what I did right there. I'm gonna slow down just a little bit more because it's pushing the form out. I wanted to keep it sort of compact. So right now all I'm really doing is bringing up the clay that's on the bottom. If you notice, it's kind of triangular. It's because it's about that thick on the bottom. What I'm doing is I'm just squeezing it in, and then I'm lifting it up and bringing the form up as I do that. It's not something you're gonna do all at once. So right now it's kind of big. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually close it a little, and this is called well, it's called narrowing. I have the name for it, but essentially you use your hands, make sure your hands are very, very lubricated, and it's done at a medium fast speed, but essentially you move up and you narrow the form. So I'm still doing that thing where I'm going to the bottom and pushing up. Okay, start shaping it, using some of the weight down there to help create this arc form on the bottom. To kind of open up the mug a little bit and create more volume. I typically like kind of a shallow bell. I think it uses the material the best. I'm gonna go back in here and sop up some of the water. Pick up some of the slip as well. And I'm going to define the foot a little bit better. Okay, and then I'm going to use the chamois to compress the top edge so that it feels really nice when you put your mouth to it. And before I finish, I really do need to kind of take some of the slip off. There's a thin layer of slip that actually sits on the edge, the side, and when it dries, it can be really uneven. You don't like that. It's not going to be good for the cup. You can't necessarily see it until after it's dried, but it creates thickness and unevenness that you don't want. So that's the cup. I'll take it off the bat and then we'll let it dry a little bit. And if you can kind of see some of the cups in the background, those are dried. They were this big when they first started. So clay shrinks quite a bit. It's 12 to 15% depending on what it is, some even more. So from this point to that point, that's just a day of drying. But then once that gets fired, it even shrinks even more. And one of these days, I'm going to show you a size comparison of a newly fired cup versus a finally fired cup. And it will surprise you how much it shrinks. So it's something that you have to think about when you're making pieces, that what the final piece is going to be, what the size is going to be at the end. But that happens over time as you do more and more throwing and